It's Thursday,
October 20th.
Fuck you. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we're doing a short show about...
Let's do this.
We haven't done this in a while, but there was a time long ago. You know, Geeknights has been running since 2005. And we used to go 4 nights a week. In fact, for many years, we did 4 shows a week. So sometimes we would not have an idea for a show. Luckily, that never happens very often. But anyway, what we would do is we would do a special. Like, all right, instead of a full-on episode of Geeknights, we're going to do like a 5-minute episode or a 10-minute episode and skip all the formality.
Yeah, I guess it's better than no episode, right?
But what we'd always do is preface it by saying something like, hey, this isn't a real episode of Geeknights.
No, it doesn't fucking matter.
We used to care. We used to be like, so if you hear this...
Because people were new to podcast. Podcasting was relatively new. People still didn't know.
Yep. I mean, now it's dead. Doesn't matter anyway.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But I do have a little bit of news.
I got some news.
I want to talk about.
Maybe news that we can stretch out for some time.
Because there have been a couple of articles like this recently, and this one is not the most egregious. It's just the most recent. Mm-hmm. But the TSA, as you know, is basically an organization designed to make air travel uncomfortable and annoying. Mm-hmm. They have been expanding their purview into Amtrak. They've been randomly setting up at Amtrak stations.
Are they allowed to do that?
There's been fights about that, but they always seem to win.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I don't know if it was them, but it looked like them. There was some security when I took Amtrak up to go Applebucking the other weekend.
Did they say TSA on their uniform?
2 of the people had TSA badges, and the rest of them were like normal employees. But they were standing at one stairwell going down to the train. We just walked, it was Penn Station to one of the other 10 stairwells that goes down to the trains and skipped it.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't going to go through that.
Nope.
And I remember when we went to Philly, some of the trains, they were doing TSA crap. More than once in Queensboro Plaza Station, I've run into TSA agents with the police randomly searching people trying to enter the subway.
I've seen, the cops standing there with a plastic folding table near subway entrances, but never once have I actually seen them ever search anybody. It's like they're just standing there because. I've never seen a TSA agent with them.
I've seen them search at least 40 people this year. Mm-hmm. I've never been asked to be searched recently.
Ever.
But if
in my case.
Well, the thing is, if I was, I'd probably just walk to the next subway station and then get on, but I digress.
Yep.
I still kind of like my plan of carrying a ratty briefcase, and anytime, if I do get stopped and they want to search it, I'll be like, no, never mind, and then throw the briefcase away in the garbage and just walk away.
It's a good plan.
Yeah. There's no crime committed there. I have no intent. It's a ratty old briefcase I was taken to throw away, full of, I don't know, rocks.
Yeah.
And alarm clocks and bowling ball candles.
Bowling ball candles. Hell yeah. All right.
But anyway, Tennessee has decided to allow them to start searching bus stations and way stations on the interstate.
All right.
They are randomly checking trucks with drug and bomb-sniffing dogs and all this BS.
Don't go to Tennessee.
Yeah, that's already good advice.
Yeah.
Even though the Smoky Mountains are beautiful, actually. Tennessee...
I'm sure you can see the Smoky Mountains from out if you're not in Tennessee.
I would regret not being able to go to Tennessee, though Gatlinburg, I hear, has become even increasingly touristy, and I don't know if I ever need to go back to Gatlinburg.
I have basically no desire to ever go to Tennessee.
Really?
There's Memphis is there, I guess, but you know what?
I heard there's good walking.
Yeah, but you know what? There's 10 billion other places on Earth I can go to see that are better. So
Tennessee was not that bad when I was there.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's if you made a list of places to go, it's not like there's no reason to ever go there.
Tennessee is a great place.
But if you made a list, it would be way near the bottom.
You want to go horseback riding through mountain trails? It's a great place for it.
Are there better places? Yes. Lots of them.
Name one. I mean, where are the Smoky Mountains, Scott? Your choice of states is pretty limited. I think Tennessee is not so bad.
For riding horses?
In mountains.
But I'd rather do desert horse riding.
Really?
Yeah.
So you want to go to Arizona or Nevada? Which one's worse?
Egypt.
Yep. Okay. No turmoil there. Everything's just fine.
I didn't say there wasn't, but for desert horse riding.
But the political problems of Egypt are analogous to the political problems of Tennessee in that your reason to avoid Tennessee seems to be due to the TSA's bullshit. Not the quality of the activities therein.
Regardless.
Anyway, I wonder at what point people won't put up with this shit anymore. And I worry that there is no point at which someone will say, you know what? I'm not flying.
Yeah, the problem is that there are people.
So Scott,
there are people who will put up with anything.
Before you say problem is, I'm going to ask you a very simple question.
Yeah.
If when we were about to fly to PAX Prime next year over Labor Day, and they stop you and say they want to do their extended TSA bullshit,
I'll say I'll take the groping.
All right, so you're going to let them grope you to go to PAX rather than not flying.
Free groping. It's not a negative.
All right, so you're cool with the TSA?
No, I'm cool with getting groped.
But you're annoyed at the TSA, right? You're annoyed at having to stand in these crazy security lines and take off your shoes.
Yeah, the waiting in line sucks.
Scott, do you take off your shoes to get on a plane? Do you comply with that order?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that means you're okay with it, right?
I would rather not.
So what are you doing to not have to do it? I would wager that
flying
the best...
less. I probably would have flown to like Anime Boston and all sorts of in MagFest, but we took bus instead.
I fly less, but I don't fly zero.
Because it's so incredibly inconvenient.
Yes, so we're still putting convenience above our civil liberties.
But there is a point at which
I would
drive to Seattle.
Is there really? What would they have to do for you to say, you know what, I'm driving to Seattle, I'm taking a week and a half off work for PAX?
If there was no grope option, if it was just go through the machine...
That'd be it?
I would not fly to, what I would do is I would go through the expense of getting like the private jet or chartered flight so you don't have to do that shit.
You know what? That actually brings up an important point. The rich probably have more control over the political process than the poor, and the richer you are, the more you can avoid that sort of BS.
Yeah, we just take the chartered flight no matter what it costs.
Yeah, but it's kind of disingenuous for us to make
$1,000 each way chartered flight.
To say that the problem is that people put up with it when we actually have the monetary means to not have to put up with it if it gets bad. Well, most people don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'm getting to the point.
I'm not saying TSA is great. I'm saying that there's a problem is when you go to airports. You know, I listen to people talk. I talk to people. It seems like there is a percentage of people, who knows what percentage it is without a study or a few studies, that actually believes that the security is, it actually increases security.
See,
it makes them feel safe, and they like it and don't want it to go away.
I don't think there is a large proportion because
I don't know what the proportion is, but there are definitely such people.
Scott, there are people.
There are people that are basically cowards who would better be safe than sorry. The same cowards who want the playgrounds to not have metal swings.
There was a story on Fark today about a man who caused a gigantic fire in his apartment building because he took his poop and put it on his radiator, thinking that alchemy would turn that poop into gold.
Yep.
There are people who believe anything.
Yes.
So you can't say, I don't think that there are enough people who actually fly who are okay with the TSA to where if we had a referendum vote, the TSA would not immediately be disbanded.
Yeah, but there's also people who don't fly, also vote, and could be affected by planes landing on them.
But at the same time, I would argue that locked cockpit doors...
So they don't care about inconveniencing you flyers, if it makes them, right? Like, imagine if there was some way, almost all security causes inconvenience. There's no way to get security for free. It always costs something, right?
Yep.
Costs money or even locking your door to your house costs inconvenience. You're going to lock yourself out at least once in your life. You got to remember the key. You got to spend that 1 second of time to lock it, right? Security costs inconvenience. But imagine if you could somehow get security for yourself, but 100% of the inconvenience is for somebody else.
Well, Scott,
and not
for example,
for you at all.
What if we passed a law saying...
Why would you ever say no to that?
Cars can't drive more than 2 miles an hour in New York. That'd be great for us bikers.
It would be awesome.
Wouldn't hurt me at all.
I'd be totally in favor of that shit.
Yeah, thus the problem.
Yep.
I don't know what to do about it, but I'm getting to the point to where because I have the wealth to avoid the problems, I will no longer put up with the TSA if I have to deal with their bullshit. Except flying, because I don't know if I want to spend the money to charter a flight to Seattle every year.
But what if we could... The thing is, what if we can get a whole plane to be PAX people?
It would still be kind of expensive.
I think it could actually be a good deal if we can charter a PAX flight from New York to Seattle. There's enough people if we got them together.
It's not that there's enough PAX attendees. There's enough industry people here who are going every year.
Right, but I'm saying is we can definitely get a plane full of people to get something that has jet engines and not propellers.
Anyway, that's all I got. I'm angry about the TSA as always.
That's not news.
Well, the only other thing I can
say is
that's
ancient history.
Isn't it funny how the Republican Party in America, which claims partly that it doesn't want federal government overreaching, doesn't seem to be too broken up about the TSA
because
doing
that's
all
defense
this stuff.
and or security and or police.
But at the same time, they want
to spend $1 billion in defense.
But at the same time, they are actually really weak on defense lately, and they were really mad about all the money we spent on Libya.
Because they're mad about spending money.
But yet they would have been fine with that money had it been a Republican president.
Because it doesn't matter what the actual policy is.
Oh,
it's just about creating a story in the media that day, whatever story they want to make. They don't give a shit.
Funny.
This is not news either.
Nope.
And anyone who doesn't,
we don't do news. We do commentary.
But the thing is, I love how you know, it's like you people, you complain about the same things over and over again, acting
Scott,
like it's a new discovery,
Scott,
or acting like somebody who hasn't discovered it already is going
Scott,
to
unlike
be enlightened.
When the rest of us in the crew talk about politics, we actually have a discussion. It's just impossible with you because you immediately
you're not discussing
everything.
anything. What have you discussed that is new in any way, shape, or form that people do not already know, that no one's ever going to change their mind or be enlightened or discover anything. There's nothing to discover. It's already known. There is no secrets. There is no valuable political discussion to be had. If there is a valuable political, I don't even believe that political science professors can have a valuable political discussion because it's pretty much a solved thing. Everyone knows everything.
And Scott, this is why
there is nothing more to know.
I talk to the other Scott about politics.
Right. But anyway, speaking of your politics, right? There's a near miracle has happened. This is actually something new, right? Not something old. A couple senators, one of which is ours. He's actually crappy, but whatever.
Name a non-crappy one who's still in power.
I don't think that Bernie Sanders is a senator, isn't? Is he? He's a House guy.
Scott,
right?
name 2 senators.
2 senators, period.
Yeah.
That are currently senators.
Sure. You know what? Ever.
Oh, ever? Oh, well, in Connecticut, the senators when I was young were Chris Dodd, who I don't think is a senator anymore.
Okay, never mind. I've made my point. Go on.
Anyway, so our senator, Schumer, who sucks, right? And
he's not that bad.
He's pretty bad. And the guy, some guy named Mike Lee from Utah, right, came up with an original idea, or at least an idea I had not heard before, which is amazing. The idea is this. If you want to move to the U.S., and you buy a house, we'll give you a visa. So it's like, hey, this kind of solves the immigration thing. It's like people can move here and totally cool.
If they have money.
If they buy a house. And it's like, well, that's actually, and it also solves the problem of not enough demand for houses. So the idea, I was thinking, hey, it's a great idea. All these Mexicans can come and just buy cheapo houses in Arizona or wherever.
Now, people might think that's not terribly feasible, but there are a surprising number of abandoned brand new houses in Arizona.
You can move to Detroit, buy a house for $5, get a visa.
You can get houses for free in Detroit if you're willing to assume the negligible property taxes.
Right, so this is a great idea. Here's the problem with their idea. At least there's nothing wrong with it.
Well, Scott, problem one, to use the devil's in the details, that the actual implementation of such a thing would be far from trivial.
Well, no. Here's the problem. They're not actually just proposing, what would be a good idea, which is buy a house, get a visa.
All right.
They're proposing spend $500,000 on real estate in the U.S., get a visa. Basically, it's like, hey, rich people can move here. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? Why did you even what's the point of having a money limit at all? Make it fucking zero. If anyone buys any real estate in the U.S., and they're not from the U.S., they should get a visa.
All right, Scott,
Easy as that.
You know what I would do immediately? I own some property. I could get some more, and I would parcel it out into square centimeters.
Okay.
And then sell it for $500.
Cool.
To give everyone visas.
Sweet.
So do you think, Scott, honestly, that if we effectively had an open border, anyone in the world can just move here wherever they want?
That's fine.
That would not cause any political turmoil, economic upheaval, problems?
I don't see the problem.
So you think that would be perfectly fine?
I think anyone should be able to live wherever the fuck they want. If I want to move to Finland, they shouldn't be able to say no. I should be like, I'm moving here. I'm a citizen.
So, Scott,
now.
do you think that universal health care in nations like Finland could still be feasible in a world like that?
If it's not feasible in a world like that, it's not feasible.
Scott, by that logic, I would argue that the majority of human accomplishments are not feasible.
No kidding.
But yet we have them.
But that's the thing, is it just shows you that all these things that people want.
No, Scott, I think it shows that
only,
you have a surprisingly black and white and naive worldview.
No. Because people want all these things, like, oh, we want universal health care. Well, that's great. Can you provide it for the entire world? No, it is not possible. So
your
we're going to
provide. Stance has been broken down to if you didn't bring enough cupcakes for everybody, then you can't bring cupcakes for anybody.
Right, because it's so hypocritical. You complain, these people out there are complaining about the rich 1%, and they're like, we should have health care for everyone. So it's like, okay, well, now you've got the problem. So everyone in the U.S. should have health care, and anyone in rich European countries should have it, but fuck all those other people in the world. It's like, well, now you're the same as those 1% you were just decrying. You've just made it a slight, now Scott, it's the biggest 5% of the world is jerks, instead of 1% of the Americans are jerks.
You once again, as with pretty much every non-computer anime or
because I don't believe in countries. I only believe in people.
Have an amazing ability to not understand the concepts of scale, for one. Anyway.
No, but I mean, why is it right to do, I don't believe in countries. So why is it right to do it for these people, but not for all the people?
Maybe, Scott, because there's no such thing as right or wrong. There's your own constructs.
Exactly.
Yeah, so why should I listen to yours? Because no one agrees with you.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm just pointing out there's hypocrisy everywhere. Everyone is hypocritical in all
because
ways.
There's no such thing as taking into consideration, scale or real world.
Okay, so we can afford to give it to this many people. How do you decide who? Oh, the Americans only. Well, that's okay, great.
Well, no,
thanks.
Scott, it's more that, all right, inside of America, for example, we've got an economy that we've built. We have our own laws. I mean, our laws don't apply to people outside of our country, and some countries out there have laws that we would consider bad.
Yeah.
So why do we let them have those bad laws?
I don't think that there should be countries. I don't think the same law should apply to all people everywhere.
All right, Scott. So
what is the ideal?
Scott, what if half the people in the world think murder should be illegal and half the people think it should not be illegal? Who gets to say?
I'm not saying I believed in democracy.
So how do you determine what law gets applied to all people?
The right law.
What's the right law?
Whatever I say.
Okay. This is why, again, I talk to the other Scott when it comes to politics.
The point is your position's laughable. And all this idea is dumb. $500,000. I mean, at least even if you're going to make it some number, at least make it a reasonable number.
Scott,
like $10,000
is not that far from what I was going to pay for a house in Beacon.
Yeah, you, an incredibly wealthy person. You think that some immigrant from Mexico, what kind of house can they afford?
No, Scott, I'm just saying, while I'm incredibly wealthy relative to the majority of humans, I'm not incredibly wealthy compared to even the top 10%.
Right. And the thing is, they're like, oh, if you don't have $500,000, that's fine. Buy a $250,000 house, and then buy another $250,000 house to rent out, and that'll give you over the limit, and you'll be okay.
Well,
to
Scott,
get the visa.
clearly, this law is I haven't actually read this law because I don't think it'll pass.
Well, yeah, it's just it's an idea. It's not. I don't think it's even a bill yet.
Yeah, but my guess is
they're preparing to introduce the idea as a part of a larger package of immigration measures.
I'm pretty sure it was thrown in as pork, probably to kick the money back to some real estate companies or the real estate sector
having trouble selling
the
expensive houses, but have no problem selling the cheap houses.
Yep, and I don't know what to do about it. I don't trust pretty much any legislation that comes because it's going to have so much crap added onto it by the end that it's even recognizable. No one in the Senate or the House even reads the legislation.
I got a new law. No new laws for 10 years. That's my new law. No country can make any new law for 10 years.
All right, so that also means we can't lighten up laws. We can't make them less bad.
Oh, and any law that's was made less than 10 years ago is void. Only older laws are okay.
All right. So 10 years, that's your line?
Well, right before the DMCA. That's the line. That gets rid of the Patriot Act too, which came later.
Anyway, because this has turned into a long episode anyway, things of the day. What do you got for me?
It is a funny video. It's not College Humor. It's Jest, a College Humor spin-off site. Aw, shit. Loophole.
I don't understand. I understand why they split off Dorkly. I do not understand why they split off Jest unless they're trying to market the exact same humor to people who look at the name College Humor and think it's for punk kids.
Yeah, I'm not sure why people do these spin-off sites, period. It's
like
why would you...
The reason they did it, my guess, is that College Humor, we don't look at that name and read anything into it. We haven't been in college for a long time. and it's not really aimed at college students. To me, this is what TV should be.
Anyway.
So they're probably rebranding it to people who aren't in college, who maybe will start watching internet crap like this, yet wouldn't watch College Humor, but would enjoy everything that's on College Humor.
I don't know. Whatever. The point is they made a funny video. It's an NBA lockout fundraiser. And people in New York will understand this one a lot better than other people. Basically, they get people pretending to be NBA players going in the subway selling M&Ms. Just like, kids often will do this for their high school basketball teams, or at least say they're doing it for their high school basketball teams. But it's funny. Anyway, I like this video.
So right along those lines, doing something not a College Humor, because I don't need
Dorkly?
to rely on, not Dorkly,
Sure.
not Jess,
Right.
The Bike Thief. This is a video, because my bike was stolen a while ago.
It's a
and
famous
I have
old movie.
Much better bike now. But New York City is, with my last check, the most bike stealingest place in America. And, my bike was stolen. Bikes are stolen all the time. When I talked to the cops, they said there's professional bike thievery rings because it's so lucrative and it's so trivial to steal them. So this guy went
I
around.
understand how lucrative it is. Someone has to be buying stolen bikes.
Yeah.
Who's buying stolen bikes?
Craigslist, used bike shops.
Which bike shop is selling the stolen bikes?
Who knows? All of them? Do you know how many crappy bike shops there are everywhere?
I only really see nice ones. Where's the crappy ones?
Look at like the one right under my building. It's not.
You think that one's selling stolen bikes?
You never know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Someone's buying them because there's a huge demand to steal them.
I want to know who's selling them so I can buy the stolen bikes for less money than the brand.
But anyway, to prove how trivial it is to steal bikes, these guys went around and basically just stole their own fucking bike.
Isn't this really old?
It is, but I don't think we've ever talked about it.
I feel like we have. Whatever.
Maybe. It got to the point to where he started bringing an angle grinder and plugging it in. No one even batted an eye, even when he tried to act as suspicious as possible.
All right, what are you going to do if you see a suspicious guy like that?
I would immediately go up and say, hey, is that your fucking bike?
I would
funny
probably
story.
just go see if there's a police standing around. And
No,
be like,
I'd just be like, what you doing? What you doing? Take pictures of him. Be like, what's up? Hey there. Bike thief, yo, everyone, because it's not like you're alone. It's not like this one dude's there and he's going to stab you. There's like 1,000 people within sight of these bike thieves. So if I'm in, New York, if you make a ruckus, a crowd forms immediately if it's a real ruckus.
Maybe.
Purse thief, 10 people already tackled the fucker.
Well, it's a purse thief. That's different than a bike thief. Right?
Yeah, but
it's
no one...
someone's hurting a person as opposed to hurting a thing.
But at the same time, if
like,
I
no
call
one
out...
cares if you spray paint the wall, but if you try to spray paint a person.
But if I call out the bike thief, and then I'd be like, oh shit, like he's going to attack me, he's going to get tackled by the same people.
Maybe.
Especially if I'm a little old lady. But anyway, funny story. Emily did that to a guy not that long ago.
Uh-huh.
She was walking, and a guy was just kind of walking up to a bike, pulled out some bolt cutters, and cut the chain. And Emily was like, hey, is that your bike? What you doing? And the guy opens his jacket, and he has a park department services shirt and badge. He's like, yeah, this bike's been here for like a month. We're taking it to the impound, whatever.
Is he full of shit?
If he was full of shit, he is a professional full-time bike thief, and I guess he deserves it because he had the shirt and the badge.
I guess so.
And think about it. If you have the shirt and badge, you went out that day saying, I'm going to steal fucking bikes. You're prepared.
Yeah.
But also, funny story, remember when I stole my bike back from that guy? I hacksawed the chain off in front of multiple trains of people because it took a while to hacksaw that chain off.
Uh-huh.
Even the cop who drove by looked right at me and didn't even slow down.
Nope.
So yeah, no meta moment because it's Thursday episode, doing real quick. Scott, Emily, and I made sushi.
Yep.
For the first time ever.
It's hard.
But not as hard as I expected.
Well, I mean, we didn't have to cut the fish. I'm sure cutting the fish is also a hard part we did not do.
Yeah, my skilled hands do not exist.
Right. So the cutting of the fish is like supposed to be the hard part and the skill requiring part, where you have a fish and you have to cut the piece of the fish off in just the right shape. We did not do that at all.
Yeah, so if you guys want to make sushi, really, the trick is to get all the stuff that's not dangerous. Buy some crab stick, some of that egg, some of that like ebi shrimp. Get some avocado, some honey roasted peanuts.
Yep, you can get already ready to sushi eels.
Yep.
From the Japanese market or whatever. And then You only have to do the rolling part. You don't have to do the cutting part.
You do have to do the making sushi rice part.
Right, so that's
though.
actually the significantly hard part that people don't realize, the making of the sushi rice. So you buy sushi rice, you put it in the rice cooker. But then you gotta add vinegar and some other and sugar and stuff to it, and then you gotta whip it up. And if you go on YouTube, right, you'll actually see videos of how to do this. You need to get a big wooden bowl and a paddle and a fan. You have to cool the rice down because it comes out of the rice cooker hot, and you gotta whip it up so that it sticks. But then you'll know the rice is perfect when it sticks to itself. But eating it will cause it to just fall apart. And we did not do the rice 100% exactly right.
It was pretty good, though.
It was good, but it was still kind of warm, and it was too sticky.
We had the fan. We had to fan it.
Yeah, we didn't fan it enough. It was too sticky, and it was too sort of heavy and dense. It needed to be a little bit lighter,
But
I
it was
think.
close. It tasted...
It worked,
I'd say on average,
kinda.
the sushi we made was one step above mediocre deli sushi.
Yeah, but it was definitely not restaurant sushi.
But
there were hints of restaurant sushi in there.
Yeah, those. I think the Philly roll was probably the best roll we made.
The thing was, I felt like I had a little too much cream cheese. At least the one that I ate.
Yeah, mine was fine. I think the cream cheese distribution was not uniform.
Yeah, see, that's another thing, right? It's all about. So you take the seaweed. And you put the rice on the seaweed. Now, that actually is significantly more difficult than you would think. You have to get it out perfectly evenly, but leave a little space at the end for the seaweed, to glue to itself.
I think the biggest mistake you made was the first roll you made. You made one of those inside-out, wraparound rolls.
Yeah, you cannot. It's easier to do seaweed on the outside than seaweed on the inside.
Yeah, it's funny. You look at our rolls. We have some video. I'll put it up when I get a chance. But basically, the first roll we made looked pretty awful, but was actually really good. Just had too much rice in it. Mm-hmm. Every roll got better and better and better. And then, the second to last roll we made was awesome. And then we were running low on rice, and the last roll we made was as bad as the first roll.
Yeah. Another thing is you got to really work, I'm sure with much practice, you could figure out the exact proportion of things to put in the roll, right? It's and also the length of the seaweed. It's the seaweed is this long, which means it's going to roll up, to be nice at this diameter, which means you got to fill it with this much stuff. Otherwise, you get one that's too fat, too thin, not enough stuff in it, too much stuff in it. You can't close it. It's tricky, and I think you got to get a lot of practice, and you'll get a feel for exactly how deep, how thick the rice should be, how what size the seaweed should be, how much stuff to put in it. All that takes a while. Practice, learning. But yeah, making sushi actually isn't that hard. You get a little wooden mat that rolls up. You put seaweed, you put rice in the seaweed, you put stuff on the rice, you roll it up, and then you chop it. The chopping's actually pretty easy.
Yep, we needed a sharper knife, I think.
Yeah,
I had better luck with that serrated one than with the chopping one.
Yeah, we didn't have an appropriate knife for the chopping. I mean, I had one at my house, but yeah, you want to make sure the knife is pretty sharp. Otherwise, you're going to smush the roll when you try to cut it into little smaller rolls.
I feel like if we do this again, it'll be pretty fucking awesome, though.
I also feel like we should make, the cone style, where you just have a cone of seaweed and you just jam a bunch of crap in there, because then you don't have to have as much
I think that might
skills.
actually be a lot harder.
You think so?
Yeah, those rolls are a little more complex looking in terms of construction.
Yeah.
Because, otherwise, if you just make a cone and dump crap in there, how are you going to eat that?
The same way you eat it when you order it at the restaurant?
Yeah, and it's actually kind of arranged when you order at the restaurant.
Kind of.
It's not just thrown into a cone.
Yeah. The other thing is, we tried to make the kind, the sashimi kind, where you just have the ball of rice and you just put something on top of it and that's it.
That was actually way harder than making the roll.
Yeah, it's you thought that would be easy, but actually, because the rice wasn't so perfect, it wasn't easy to make that little ball of rice exactly the right shape and size and consistency to lay the little piece of, whatever it is on top of it. But if you could get the ball of rice to be exactly right, then you could just take a little strip of seaweed and wrap it around like a little belt. That was actually pretty easy to do. But then the rice fell apart because it wasn't exactly right. So pretty much everything hinges on that rice. You don't realize it when you eat the sushi, because when you're buying sushis, you don't think about the rice. You think about the other parts. It's do I want to buy this roll or that roll? And they all have rice in them. But the rice is actually the most important thing. Get the rice right, and then everything else will be 10 times better. So I think next time when we do it, I'm gonna, we're gonna try to do the rice just like in the video. Not try to cut any corners on it. Put a lot more time and effort into the rice making.
Much more important, I'm making Buddha roll first, not last.
Yeah, and then putting a lot less. Well, I guess not less effort, but I'm gonna basically put most of the attention onto the rice.
We'll have to do maybe we'll do a sushi party with the crew. Have some more people over, not just us.
Yeah, they'll have to get a lot more. We'll have to get like 2 rice cookers going. With way more.
No, I think 1 rice cooker will be fine.
Run it twice.
We just fill it. We didn't fill it. It wasn't that much rice.
Oh, we didn't fill it?
No.
Oh, I thought we filled it.
If we filled it, it would practically fill this apartment. Do you know how much rice comes out of a full rice cooker?
A lot.
Yeah.
A zillion. I mean, I make half a cup of rice, and that's a lot for one person.
Maybe we need that big square kind of bucket the guy on YouTube was using too.
Well, he had like a big wooden thing with a wooden paddle that he was using. I don't know. But yeah, go on YouTube and if you want to do this, make sure you get the right techniques from YouTube. But even though the rice, didn't consist properly and was hard to make sushi with, it tasted fine. Everything actually tasted just like it would taste. Just because the shape isn't beautiful and everything, you still get the same mixture of ingredients in the same proportions. It's still gonna have the same flavor.
Yeah.
It's like if you don't want to try to roll up the sushi, take a piece of seaweed, plop a ball of rice on it, put a crab stick on top of it, put it on a spoon and eat it. Put a drop of soy sauce on it, eat it. It'll taste like sushi. Right?
It also reminded me how much I really like crab sticks.
Crab sticks are pretty good.
Yeah.
Crab stick.
This has been Geek Nights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geek Nights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geek Nights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.